Introducing the epic new Swift. Time to go swifting.
And then there were four. The playoffs approach of the IPL 2024. And what a good one to start things off. Qualifier number one, the Kolkata Knight Riders and the Sunrisers Hyderabad. Two teams that really set this IPL alight with their power hitting, with their template of T20 success. And they deservedly find themselves with a place in the final up for grabs. We build up to that game in Ahmedabad on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout, powered by JBL. We have a title-winning coach in Tom Moody with the Sunrisers, a former KKR pacer in Varun, and a man who's won more IPLs than any of them in Mitchell McClenaghan. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tom, playoffs time. It feels different from the inside?
Oh, of course it does. This is what everyone works towards, and it's not easy when it comes to this time of the season, given everyone's worked very hard. There's a lot of mental and physical sort of emotion that's been, exhausted over a period of time. So it's down to who's going to be absolutely cherry ripe when it comes to the day. Both these teams have been the standout teams. They both deserve to be in this position. They've both played a similar brand of cricket as well. And it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how this unfolds over the next few hours, because they'll go hammer and tong against each other, not going to hold back, and they'll be throwing punches from the get-go.
Big news coming through from Ahmedabad, and I'll come to the toss in just a second, but just setting it up. Both these teams curiously played on Sunday, the last league day. They had to fly to Ahmedabad Monday. There was no training, no press conference, we believe, yesterday. And now they play on Tuesday. So it's a similar pattern that they have. Does that in any way make a difference? You've not perhaps had a training, you've been travelling the day before. In any way, does that add to the drama element of today?
I don't think so, because it's more how you turn up mentally for such games. Because you've played a whole tournament, you've batted enough, you've bowled enough, you've practiced enough. So really, one training session isn't going to make a huge difference. But how you turn up mentally, in what state of mind are you? If you're anxious, not anxious. If you're relaxed, not relaxed. That's what matters in these kind of games. But the toss is a big one. Sunrisers have chosen to bat, which they would have loved to do with head and Abhishek going hammer and tongs.
Well, let's go straight to that. Pat Cummins, who knows the Narendra Modi Stadium. Sometimes he knows the pitch better than most locals at the Narendra Modi Stadium, and he gave us quite the surprise in the World Cup final, where he chose to bowl first. It turned out to be an absolute masterstroke. Today, when the pitch reports were done by a number of our experts at the ground, everyone suggested chasing would be the way to go. They may not be due either. Whatever their reasons, on a mixed soil surface in Ahmedabad that's played relatively slow, Cummins indeed has decided to bat first. Let's get a reaction on that. Mitch?
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's playing to their strengths, isn't it? So they've been successful setting a target and making sure that teams can't reach it. If there's one team who can reach a decent total that's set, it is KKR. So it actually sets up really nicely for quite an exciting fixture. I guess what they'll be trying to do is get that score on the board, obviously, and then unleash Bhuvi. Bhuvi's got a phenomenal record against a lot of their batsmen. So that's going to be one of the key matchups, and I think it sets up really nicely for SRH.
They would have had some confidence chasing a 200-plus score in their last game. Is this somewhat surprising, a decision from the Sunrisers?
I think they must feel confident there's not going to be any dew. I'm sure they would have had a couple of scouts down at the venue last night just to see what it was like at around about 9, 10 o'clock at night. That's normal practice. But then dew can be unpredictable. I'd hate, they would hate to find themselves in a position where they're bowling second and suddenly there is a heavy dew, because there is a huge difference in how that game plays out according to the effectiveness of spin, swing, seam, all those things.
If we look at Ahmedabad this year, and I wonder if this would have been any different had we not seen the game between Gujarat Titans and Chennai Super Kings, which turns out to be the last game that we actually got to witness. There was a washout that followed that game on the 10th of May between GT and CSK. Significant result as well in how the playoffs panned out with the RCB story. We'll come to that later. Otherwise, it was what Varun has been saying throughout the season, a different Ahmedabad surface, one which saw scores of 160, 170, a 200 chase in what was a day game between Punjab and Gujarat, and then we go lower down, we finally start seeing more 200 plus scores. The highest score was 231 and 4 out of 6 to the chasing team. So technically that's slightly against the trend at Ahmedabad this year.
Look, obviously we can't go by those numbers a lot because that was Gujarat playing to their strengths at the start of the season because they didn't have Mohammad Shami. They wanted to get their spinners into play and they were playing on slow surfaces, which obviously suited their bowling attack but didn't suit their batsmen. And finally, when they were in a spot, they were like, you know what, let's just go in with the wickets we were playing. Let Sai Sudarshan and Shubman Gill have their day out in the sun, and that's exactly what they did. But going back to today's game, they're playing on the centre wicket. That wicket is generally a really good wicket. The pitch reports are saying it's slightly dry, mostly because of the heat they're seeing at Ahmedabad. But I think it's going to play well and we're going to see a good game today.
Yeah. How good a game can we possibly see? Because you look at these teams and the way they start, we know we're seeing the two batting powerhouses of IPL 2024, extraordinary boundary percentages. And if you look at the power play, lots of numbers, let me break them down for you. The rank for the Sunrisers in the power play, number 1 in the league at nearly 12. Second place, KKR, with a very respectable just over 11 in the first 6. In the middle phases, they both go at about 9.5, again ranking 1 and 2. And finally, in the final 5, which can sometimes be a bit lopsided looking at situations of games. But you have KKR who go at 12.5 and Sunrisers aren't bad either. They've done so much of the heavy lifting up top. You wouldn't mind 11.28 and a rank of 4. Are those numbers likely to be repeated in a playoff game where there is more at stake, more pressure? Tom, can we possibly see a 430, 440 kind of game today, given what these teams have shown us?
It wouldn't surprise me at all. I know Pat Cummins will be encouraging his team to actually go out as hard as they possibly can and just forget about the fact that this is a final and that the winner goes straight through. He'll be encouraging people to really take the game on, and I think that's the way to take KKR on is to start throwing punches early.
Yep.
Because you can guarantee just the quality and the depth and the balance that KKR have. If you hesitate in any sort of phase, any of those 3 phases, they'll jump all over you, particularly that middle phase when they've got Chakravarti and Narayan. I think you need to be really proactive and be in a strong position coming out of power play to be able to, take that spin down, because that to me is going to be the real key to this battle is to how well those 2 spinners bowl in that middle phase and how, number 1, how well positioned Sunrisers are at that point of entry and how well they manage it.
Yeah, it's a conversation for the second half, but those numbers, at least in the first 6, are largely down to Phil Salt, who's missing today, and the only change that KKR make. We did see a team at least announced in their last game against Rajasthan, but we were expecting Gurbaz in. Gurbaz plays, and that's the only noticeable change. Vaibhav Arora is in their bowling first 11. Expect Nitish Rana to come in the second half. That is what they need to do. They need to find Gurbaz almost playing the same role instantly in what is his first outing.
Yeah, which will be tough because you've got Bhuvaneshwar Kumar on the other side, and the last 2 games he played against him, he got him out within 4 balls. So that's a pretty good record. He's got him out twice in the last couple of games. So that'll be a massive matchup because Phil Salt's got a pretty good record against him. So Gurbaz is going to be under the pump from the outset. So that's why I think this game lines up really nicely for SRH. I think Bhuvi's a big game player.
Yep.
I'm expecting him to have a good game today and really make inroads early.
What is interesting is that Bhuvi is one of the few senior players in the Sunrisers team. If you just revisit some history when it comes to SRH and KKR, how they fared in playoffs, and it's not a fixture that we've seen in recent years, but it did throw up some special games in the past as well. Now, overall, the record, 8-5 in win-losses for Kolkata and 5-6 to Hyderabad. In qualifier number 1, Kolkata have been there twice, they've won it twice, and Sunrisers Hyderabad are yet to win this particular fixture. Of course, they did go on to win the whole thing, as Tom Moody would remember fondly, back in 2016. And in this auction cycle, it's the first time that they feature in knockouts and playoffs. Those are the games that have a lot of history, fond memories for Tom. In it, 2016, the eliminator at Hyderabad, that SRH won in Delhi. It was a pretty low-scoring affair. Gautam Gambhir was captain that year, as he was in 2017, in what is a much-talked-about incidental game another 20 minutes, and at the Chinnaswamy, the game would have been washed out and SRH would have gone through. As it turns out, Kolkata managed to win a 6-over affair or a 5-over affair with Gautam Gambhir top scoring. And then the qualifier number 2 in 2018. Sunrisers on their way to the final. Rashid Khan, the batter, was really on the rise. They got the better of KKR. Only Sunil Narayan and Bhuvaneshwar Kumar played every one of those fixtures. They're in attendance today as well. You don't like that game, that 5-over game.
The one in the middle still hurts.
It hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It was defending champions here.
Yeah, no, it hurts because there was, it was an interesting time when it come to the decision about playing with the rain that was around and the conditions that were on offer. But anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. It finished also 1:27 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's still, we've had later games than that, as we remember last year with the final. Yeah. But in all seriousness, when you look at these two teams, KKR have more experienced Indian players. You think like Shreyas Iyer and Chakravarti and so many. Monitesh Rana's played for so long. SRH have perhaps the more experienced overseas complement. Who strikes you as the team that takes more big match temperament and vibe in these two, if you can pick one?
I would obviously say KKR because they've got Stark, who's played some very, very important matches for Australia. They've got Russell, they've got Narayan, they've got Shreyas. I mean, these guys have taken some serious pressure, not just for their franchises, but for their country as well. Not saying that SRH don't. SRH have Travis Head, they've got Klassen, they've got Pat Cummins. So it's pretty much, they match up really well. But I think what's going to be really important is the batting through the middle. And I feel KKR have a collectively better lower middle order than SRH because they've got the 3 Rs at the bottom. They've got Russell, Rinku and Ramandeep who are striking it at some serious lick. And Rinku is one of the guys who hasn't really gotten an opportunity to shine because their top order is batting so well.
Sure.
So I just feel it's going to be an interesting game with KKR batting second.
The first name you mentioned, especially with KKR bowling now, it almost feels like no matter what happened all season, this is the game you bought Mitchell Stark for. In what's otherwise an inexperienced Indian seam bowling lineup as well as they've performed.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, he's going to be key, right? He's coming up against Travis Head. That'll be the one which have said, please get him out early. Put him under some pressure. This is your job. This is what we've paid you for to get that job done. So it is going to be a key matchup. When I look at the whole fixture, I look at SRH, you look at their bowling unit against those power hitters that you're talking about. There's a couple of things in their favour. Russell, traditionally, historically, has been a better finisher of the innings in the first innings as opposed to the second.
Yep.
And I also think when I look at the dimensions of the ground, if you're playing dead set in the centre of the ground, it helps SRH's bowlers because they're not a genuine out-and-out Yorker bowling side, barring Natarajan and Bhuvi at times when he hits it. But the weaker death bowlers in their unit, when I say weak, they're still great players.
Yeah, sure.
But they rely on using the square boundaries. And we've seen how we saw in the World Cup final that using the square boundaries was really, really important. And I think they kind of set up to use those square boundaries a little bit better than KKR do. So that being said, I think KKR with their bowling unit have got some destructive bowlers. Andre Russell, for whatever reason throughout this tournament, has had significant impact every single time he's come on. Yep. It's almost the first ball he comes on, he takes a wicket. And he's not just getting out tail enders or guys who aren't having an impact on the game. He's getting out top order batsmen and powerful hitters as well, like Nicholas Puran, Will Jacks, Hardik Pandya, Tim David. See there, Surya Kumar Yadav twice. Padidar, all these guys have been in phenomenal form either this year or in previous seasons. So he's that guy that they use to come in and have an impact and break partnerships. And he's been probably underrated this year with the ball in terms of his impact on most of those games.
Well used as well. I mean, big match player with the ball on a day like this, Andre Russell. We tend to always think of Russell and how he'll be with the bat, but Russell could be key here.
Well, a fit Russell helps. And this year we've seen a fit Russell, so he's been the full package. In previous years, he's had knee injuries, he's had all sorts of sort of niggles, which has curtailed his impact as a complete all-rounder. But this year, he's been the complete all-rounder, and he's an absolute prize player if he is fit because he is dynamic. With the ball, as Mitch said. He's unpredictable. And I think that makes him so effective is because you just don't know what you're going to get with Andre Russell. There's no real pattern to how he bowls. He could run in and bowl a slow ball first ball or try to hit you in the head. As simple as that, and there's no pattern to it. And I don't think he even knows half the time. Which to be fair is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But he's got the skills. He's got good slow balls. He's got good pace. He's got a good bouncer. Can bowl Yorkers as well. So, yeah, look, he's an important one. I just wanted to touch on the Travis Head and the Stark
Please.
Contest. It's going to be intriguing to watch this because Mitchell Stark will not fear Travis Head like every other bowler in the IPL have done this year. Because Travis Head has jumped out of the blocks and most bowlers will be thinking, gosh, where do I bowl to this guy? Mitchell Stark has bowled to this guy for the last few years in the Australian environment, whether it be in domestic cricket or whether it be in the Australian setup. He'll know exactly where to bowl. But also, Travis Head will have something psychological in his head about Mitchell Stark and the fear that he knows what Stark can actually do to him. Where I think Head hasn't had that sort of block, that sort of mental block that, oh gosh, I know that he can swing the ball early or he's going to go hard at me and, try to knock my head off first ball. So I think that there's an intriguing little contest here where I think, in my view, Stark's got the upper hand in this contest before it started.
Interesting. And Head in his head has...
Yeah.
Sorry. Head in his head has that first ball wicket of a left-armer and Arshdeep just getting the top of off.
I actually agree with Tom, not just with Head, but also with Abhishek, because Stark has struggled to right-hand batsmen this year. He's bowled a lot better to left-hand batsmen. Just because he's not been able to get the ball back in from fourth stump as a left-arm fast bowler. So it's going to be interesting, and if Stark has to have a day out with the ball, today's the day.
Yeah, the last thing I saw on Instagram before we were coming in here today was actually in the nets at Adelaide, Mitchell Stark running in and bouncing Travis Head and him flapping at it above his shoulders. And that's where the unpredictability is going to be, because
Where did
Mitchell
you see
Stark's
that on
definitely...
Insta?
Huh?
Where on Insta did you see that?
Yeah, well, it could have been ESPN Crick Info, actually.
Oh, we put it out, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
I was wondering
Well,
whether
there you
Mitch Stark
go.
put
There
it
you
out.
go.
Yeah, so maybe that's it. No one else has done that, right?
I know for a fact that most of the Australian players don't like facing Stark in the nets.
Right.
Because it's just one of those unpleasant 20 or 30 minutes that you have.
I'm very curious to see what Travis Head does. Is he looking to just bat on ball and get off
He'll
strike?
take him on.
Take him on.
He'll try to take him on.
Exactly.
But my point is that it won't be with the clarity of thought that he has done every other innings this IPL.
He'll take him on more to get out of jail rather than dominate.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah.
You brought up the Abhishek point. I was thinking, what if you just turn it around a little and say, Abhishek takes strike today?
No, because Abhishek
ball.
also...
Just change it up a little.
Abhishek is a bit suspect to the ball going away, but pitched on a good length. So yeah, Stark holds the key, just like Bhuvi holds the key to the Sunrisers bowling.
Okay, I like that you mentioned Bhuvneshwar Kumar. Mitch has talked it up as well, and there's a reason for it. Bhuvi is indeed the Achilles heel when it comes to the Knight Riders. We'll see this perhaps for later, but it's an important part of the plot right now. Sunrisers get a score, whatever score. Either they blaze away and get 220, 230, but in a big playoff game, even if they get 280, 200, whatever it may be, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, with his record against Sunil Narayan, dismissing him twice with an average of just 16 for Narayan, and we look at some other key KKR batters over the years. There's Manish Pandey in it. There's Venki Iyer, Nitish Rana too. Strike rate is the key here. Barring Andre Russell, no one really seems to get the better of Bhuvi. Shreyas too. Bhuvi enjoys that matchup, and he is bowling almost as well as he was in his heyday in 16, 17, 18.
He certainly is. He's got better and better as the tournament's gone on, to the point where you could nearly... It's too late, obviously, now, but you could nearly consider him for World Cup. He's bowling that well, because he always has been a pure new ball bowler in the power play. I don't think anyone, can go... Well, there's probably one in Jasprit Bumrah that can go close to him with regards to his record in power play.
Yep.
And we all know the value of wickets in the power play, and Bhuvi's an absolute master of swing and control and variety. The way he sets up batters is just an absolute delight to watch. He's got the skills at the back end where he's got his slower balls, he's got his Yorkers. He will be vitally important. And if the ball is moving, he will cause all the top order of
Serious
KKR
problems.
a headache because, you know, particularly the way that the game's played now, most people are set up to hit boundaries, and if you can swing the ball, you can get inside that.
Yeah, we already talked about Gurbaz as well. Mitch brought it up, not just those names on that list for KKR. And it's nice Tom mentions Bhuvi World Cup because we forget sometimes Bhuvi did feature in the last T20 World Cup squad taking the new ball, but it seemed like after that we never had that conversation. How would you like to see him used today? I was curious to see Pat Cummins change to use him perhaps 3 up top and maybe 1 for the early part of the death overs, where in the last game Nitish Reddy was given the responsibility. Today they may have the option of getting in another bowler later, but what about Bhuvi's use today?
They have to use him maximum through the power play. That's where his strength lies. If you see, he's got 11 wickets this year. Out of that, 10 wickets are in the power play. There's just 1 through the middle, a very important one of Robin Powell, which got them through that game.
Yeah.
But Bhuvi through the power play is really important. I think if they can put enough pressure or have wickets in hand at the death, I think KKR will win this purely because none of their bowlers are in form at the death except Natarajan. And if they can take on Natarajan and Natarajan doesn't have a good day, it could be curtains for Sunrisers today. Yeah,
that's the key matchup, and therefore so much rests, you think, on the first innings and the first 20 overs to see what kind of score Sunrisers Hyderabad can get up. Just looking at that Sunrisers team one more time, I wonder how small but significant it is that Rahul Tripathi got that knock in the last game, Tom, as perhaps the only little spot of concern. Imagine if we would have not seen Tripathi get a score there. It might have caused them some concern on what we're going to do with our playing side in the qualifier.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm surprised it's taken this long for Tripathi to be in that side. You know, you're talking about a guy that's played for India, you know, not too long ago, at the top of the order. He's a dynamic T20 player. He fits the brand of cricket they're playing. He's good in the field. He is only strengthened that side in my view. He's a great player. He's not going to go in there and try to get set. You know, he's just as likely to go in very first ball and take on short fine leg and scoop it over there for 4, and suddenly you're chasing the game.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about Head and Abhishek, but you can see almost Tripathi, if they lose a wicket, being perhaps the big stage player, taking on a Mitchell Starc, who he wouldn't mind facing with the kind of angle and pace Starc gives against him.
I think Starc wouldn't mind that competition because Tripathi in front of a moving ball is very suspect. He wants the ball to come onto the bat. He doesn't want the ball to move too much. So Tripathi, the way he plays is he tries to counter-attack the bowler and make sure the bowler's not bowling in those good areas. But Mitchell Starc is very, very experienced, and he will keep coming at Tripathi in those areas with the ball swinging.
But just like you said earlier, if he misses, which he has been missing to right-handers, that plays into Tripathi's strength, going over the offside. And if Mitchell Starc doesn't keep it nice and tight on that fuller line, leg side to him, with the right field, I think it's one which can go either way, right? If Mitchell Starc's off for a ball or two, Tripathi is that guy who's dangerous over the offside. You give him any width, he's going to take you down. So that's going to be a fascinating matchup. So you're right, so much rides on Mitchell Starc at the top there. But we've also got to remember, I think Aurora's also being very dominant at the top with his swing. And he's a really nice matchup to both Abhishek and Travis Head as well.
Yeah.
Very good.
We're focusing on Mitchell Starc, but he's gone under the radar. And the amount of swing he's produced compared to a lot of other bowlers throughout this tournament, he's well up there in the amount of 100%. Movement that he's got. So that's another key matchup to watch out at home because it's a guy who hasn't had the experience at this level. It'll be interesting to see how he responds because he could be a key matchup to save Travis Head.
Yeah.
With Webber Aurora, the only thing is when the pressure comes on, he tries to go very defensive, and that's where he gets it wrong. So he's that kind of a bowler who wants a wicket in his first 5-6 balls, and then he's a very different bowler. But if they can put the pressure on him, then he goes ultra defensive, which I hope he doesn't today.
We're also waiting to see how much that white ball swings. It could go either way with that in a game like this. Very hot, whatever that means. We were told it was nearly 45 degrees this afternoon, and game time we're expecting it to be 36 almost, which is quite warm again.
It's not going to swing.
Yeah.
Well, it's unlikely to swing for long if it does swing.
Okay, and we wait to see that. But I'm still very excited to just understand what we might witness in the first 6 over here. You can almost imagine all the scenarios, can't you, gents? You could imagine Head and Abhishek taking down, say, the first two bowlers in the first 2 overs of the new ball. That's a scenario. Let's say they get to 30-40 in 2 overs. What's the reaction? Do you carry on Vaibhav Arora for a third and Stark for a fourth? Do you bring in Chakravarti or Narayan ahead of schedule? How do you, KKR, I'm sure, would have thought of this, wouldn't they?
Absolutely, they would have thought of it. I would have thought Narayan is their backstop, plan B. I think they'll hope that the ball's going to swing and Stark's going to do his business and Aurora's going to do his business possibly. But I think that their fail-safe option is Narayan because he's bowling beautifully. He's also perfect up against the 2 left-handers. So I'd be definitely going him ahead of Chakravarti. I wouldn't be putting Chakravarti under that pressure with the field restrictions.
Any other thoughts on that?
I think
whether we do something in case SRH get off to a flyer.
Narayan obviously is one of those guys who's pretty much a full stop to any scoring rate. So they'll obviously get him in. But the thing with Chakravarti is why we see Chakravarti getting more wickets than Narayan in recent IPLs is because people are so fed up of facing Narayan through the middle. They just like, okay, whoever's bowling from the other side, we're just going to take him on. And Chakravarti is actually bowling really, really well, so especially over the last
well, he's
6,
the
7
beneficiary
matches. 100%,
of partnership bowling.
Correct.
And quickly, you're Mitchell Stark, you've got Travis Head or Abhishek, both of them, and they get away. Who are your 2 fielders out in the power play?
For Mitchell Stark, I would have, for Travis Head, with him trying to move the ball, I'd have deep point, and I'd probably still have the square leg.
So a lot of teams have gone long on as well, haven't they?
Yeah, they have gone long on. I don't think long on's a Travis Head strength.
Right.
He doesn't actually hit it as well over long on.
And for Abhishek?
Yeah, for Abhishek, for Mitchell Stark, I'd be trying to keep it as tight as possible. I think Mitchell Stark goes with pretty traditional fields, so we're not going to see anything outrageous.
For Vaibhav, perhaps, then?
For Viber, I think with the ball moving away from him, I think you want the backward point out on the boundary. And then for Travis Head, he'll probably have deep square as well. Purely because I think that ball moving away from Travis Head early is going to be that key wicket-taking delivery for him.
Right.
And then ideally, he can still bowl a slower ball out wide and get Travis Head to flap one out to deep point.
Okay, fair enough. Now, one last scenario just for you, Tom. Number 3 seems to be Tripathi, which they've settled on. What is Heinrich Klaasen's ideal entry point today? At times, Reddy comes up, and you also have Narayan and Chakravarti to handle. What is Klaasen's ideal entry point?
I think around 10 overs. I think at the 10-over mark is ideal for him. He doesn't necessarily need to come in straight after power play. I think the Sunrisers have landed a very, very talented player in Nitish Reddy that's doing a great job. Tripathi has also hit the ground running and has shown some form with his opportunity. So Klaasen's going to be at his most dangerous back 10 overs.
And we saw that in the back 10 of the game that they played very early on this IPL, 440 plus runs. The difference was just 4 at the end, and Heinrich Klaasen and Andre Russell both set up their season with powerful knocks. Stark went for over 50 in his 4-over spell. But that's a long time ago, and it doesn't matter. What matters is now the qualifier is upon us, the first one for a place in the final of the 2024 IPL. And on that note, let's enter the impact zone. High stakes on the panel as well. Not much to separate the top 4 as Varun, Mitch and Tom occupy top 3. The difference of just 0.1. It's absolutely neck and neck. Varun and Mitch, 2.52. But we do have an issue to address. Wasim Jafar will be back a little later, although he might have to be content with 4th spot. You didn't have a pre-season outrageous pick. And it seems like the appropriate response would be for you to make an outrageous pick for the final, now accepted by your 2 colleagues on the left.
Jeez. This is not going to be outrageous.
I obviously went with the very outrageous pick, which they're not accepting. Which is RCB winning the final.
But that's 1 in 4 now, so it's not as outrageous.
Correct. All right. So I'm reconsidering.
I'll accept it tomorrow if RCB lose. Then you can make that pick. Yeah.
I would say Virat Kohli getting an 80-plus score in the final, and they win it.
And they win it. 80-plus. I'm happy with that.
Is that fine?
Okay, that's approved.
All right.
Thank you so much.
24-hour shelf life for starters. Yeah. Now, on to business for the day. Impact Zone, and Tom Moody starts 3rd on that sheet, so he will have the privilege of going first today. Tom.
Right, okay, that's really kind of you. I'll go for Sunil Narayan, thank you.
Very well.
As a bowler, because he's primarily a bowler, not a batsman.
Very well. We're picking bowlers. Varun Aaron.
I'm picking Andre Russell.
Mitchell McClenaghan.
I will go.
Would you go Abhishek Sharma, the bowler?
Pretty much. Might as well. I will go with Bhuvi.
Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. Strong, solid picks. Varun, we're picking batters.
I'm going with Travis Head.
Travis Head. Mitch.
Raunak Kapoor.
Klassen. Tom.
I'm going to go with. I'll just have a quick look at KKR's lineup.
Ball number 1 is upon us.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll go Abhishek Sharma.
Very well, Abhishek it is. Outrageous picks now, Mitchell McClenaghan.
She's all been shafted
Oh,
here,
what
haven't
about
I?
wild card?
No, wildcard.
Sorry, wild card. That's what I meant. Wild card, which will be an outrageous pick, perhaps.
Okay, I'm going to go with Nitish Reddy.
Nitish Reddy. Tom.
I'll go with Chakravarti.
Varun. And Varun.
I'm going to go with Venkatesh Iyer.
Venki Iyer it is. Oh, you've not left a lot for me today, have you? In which case, I will quickly wrap it up with Harshit Rana, Rahul Tripathi, and let's throw in, just for some fun, maybe Shahbaz Ahmed to have an interesting day today. Let's see how that goes.
Did you mean to match your shirt to the umpires today?
I did indeed. But that would affect my performance as it perhaps has for the umpiring in this tournament. Well. We stayed on long enough to witness the matchup we were discussing at length with great interest. Mitchell Starc, as he does in big games, has taken out the big fish of the opposition. Travis Head is cleaned up for the second game running for a duck. Let's get a reaction to that. We did see it coming. Tom Moody?
Yeah, look, again, he's a classy bowler. Again, that's a terrific delivery. I know our viewers can't see that delivery, and I'm sure they look forward to seeing the replay of it, but it just looked to shape away from Travis Head on a foolish length and just straightened off the seam. Again, class from Starc. We know that he's had a difficult 3/4 of a tournament, but that's why you pay big money for big game players.
Exactly the same ball as Arshdeep. So if you're
Very
trying
similar.
to imagine it, it was almost exactly the same.
Just a little bit fuller, wasn't it?
Touch
Fraction fuller.
Like-
And we did see Travis Head try to play the big shot. Varun Aaron, try and take him straight down the
Did
ground.
you have
I'm
Travis Head?
speechless.
Yes.
I had Travis Head. He's out for a knot.
That's unfortunate for you.
It is unfortunate.
All right, outrageous picks on that note, please. And first innings score predictions. Varun Aaron, would you like some time to get your speech back?
No, Travis and Abhishek out in the power play.
No, you
No,
can't
But half of that's already done.
do that.
You are.
I'm okay.
Hang on, you just
You
have
want to
some
say
time
in the
to
first
pick.
over?
176.
You can say-
No, 1 sec.
176, and Abhishek Sharma is going to get 70 or more.
70 or more. That's good enough.
You happy with that?
Yep.
194, and Raunak Kapoor will hit 50 of 26 or less.
50 of 26 or
26,
less.
you push the extra ball.
Very well. Varun,
186.
186.
Sunrisers lose 3 in the power play.
3 in the power play for Sunrisers.
They've already lost one. You can't do that.
I really think they're going to lose 3 in the power play.
You've got to say
3 is
4.
quite
It has to be
outrageous.
4.
It's called outrageous for a reason.
Not
Second ball
4,
wicket.
not
It has
4.
to be 4. Or change your pick.
Okay, 3 wickets, and they score under 50.
Under 45, I'll take
3 and under 50, I will accept. All right.
Tom, come on, Tom.
it. Yeah, I know. You look, you should be a
desperate. He's
used.
desperate.
Okay, under 47.
You should be a
Fine.
used car
Under 47.
salesman.
In between you and me.
46 and we
used
call
car
it a deal.
salesman.
No.
46 and we call it a deal.
47. In between Tom and me.
46.
47.5.
Shook on 46. We've got that on camera.
Do you sell
I'm
cars?
gonna try and add some controversy here. I'm going to accept the 3 and under 50 because that was the first call and I said accept.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And that's where we leave it. Thank you very much to Tom Moody, Mitch McClenaghan
That's
and
not
Varun
bad,
Aaron.
really.
Fascinating first innings and the first qualifier ahead of us, and analysis right at the end of it on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout, powered by JBL. Do download the mobile app, fastest scores and so much more. You'd have known that Travis Head is dismissed if you had the ESPN Cricket for app, just as Starc got made a mess of his stumps. We will see you at the end of the Sunrisers innings.
Introducing the epic new Swift. Time to go swifting.